For years now, people have been encountering mysterious creatures. Although most of these end up being hoaxes, misidentified wildlife, pranks, or even natural phenomena, there are some that have been encountered that have left people with more questions than answers. One of the most interesting things to happen in these types of cases is when police officers get involved. Many people, including the officers, are critical when it comes to believing there are mysterious and paranormal events happening around the world. However, when these individuals see the creatures for themselves, they very quickly change their tone. This happened to be the case for a mysterious creature that was reported a few decades ago. Back in 1988, a 17-year-old local resident known as Christopher Davis claimed that he was driving near the location of Scape or Swamp, and during this trip he struck a creature that was described as being green, completely wet, 7 feet tall, had the skin of a lizard, possessed 3 fingers on both hands, had glowing wide red eyes, and was covered from head to toe in snake-like scales. This creature would later be referred to by locals as the Lizard Man of Scape or Swamp, and further sightings of the creature would continue for years to come. Though many claim to have spotted the creature, even occasionally having direct encounters on the roads located nearby the Scape or Swamp, others claimed they'd encountered the Lizard Man more than a few miles away from the swamp. This would eventually lead to many sightings of the creature that a local radio station known as WCOS offered a $1 million reward to anyone that could capture the creature alive and bring it into the studio. Though many people believed it to be nothing more than a publicity stunt, the seriousness of the creature would later be the focus of the nearby military base as an airman known as Kenneth Orr, that worked at the nearby Shaw Air Force Base, would go on to file a police report claiming that he had encountered the Lizard Man. He encountered this creature close to Highway 15 and even claimed to have taken a shot at the creature. He believed that he had wounded the creature but couldn't locate its body. Despite the police report and the proof of a number of scales and blood being found at the location, Kenneth Orr was arrested for claims of an unlawfully carrying a weapon and attempting to file false police reports. This led many to believe that though the military may be actively hunting and looking for the creature, they are also working to cover up the existence of the lizard men to prevent mass panic. As some have pointed out, it's hard to think of an animal someone could misidentify as this. Over the last 30 years, a few reports have come from the region of Scape or Swamp. Interestingly, most of these encounters seem to happen at night when people are alone. The eyewitness accounts all follow a similar theme, seeing a large bipedal humanoid-like creature doing things a normal human being wouldn't be able to do. For example, one eyewitness said the creature she saw was extremely strong, and was able to move a car simply by lifting it up. This led to the locals living near the swamp at the time to go into panic mode. Residents were seeing and reporting a large unidentified creature, and many wanted answers for what was going on. Perhaps one of the most interesting developments to happen in the case was on the 4th of July 1988. At the time, the Lee County Sheriff's Office was called in to investigate a report of a damaged car. This happened while it was parked overnight at Brownstown outside of Bishopville. What's interesting is this is just outside of Scape or Swamp, and happened during the height of the reports. Although these kinds of call-outs are not uncommon, the officers were about to find out that something seemed off about this case. For example, when 2 officers arrived, they picked up on the fact there were large tooth marks and scratches running across the entire car. Not only this, but muddy footprints could be seen on and around the car, proving that something large had been in the area that night. Sheriff Liston Truesdale was one of the first on the scene, and was surprised at what the locals were saying. Firstly, the locals were making claims about there being a large lizard-like creature in the area, and that it had been causing damage for a few consecutive nights. As mentioned though, the most famous account was made by 17-year-old Christopher Davis, who said his car was damaged by a 7-foot-tall lizard creature that had 3 fingers. Although for some the claims sounded ridiculous, it was eventually picked up by several news networks, and actually brought in people to the area hoping to see this mysterious giant lizard. However, although large crowds gathered, no one was able to catch a glimpse of the giant lizard. 2 sheriffs took casts of the alleged footprints made by the beast. They were said to have measured around 14 to 15 inches in length, and even showed details of the toes. What people find strange though is the sheriffs were talked out of sending them to the FBI for further analysis. This come down to a biologist advising them the tracks they brought in were in fact unclassifiable. This led to even more confusion about what creature left behind their tracks. A South Carolina Marine Resources Department spokesman even came forward and said the tracks didn't match and couldn't be misidentified for any recorded animal. Wildlife experts later came forward however and said the footprints most likely belonged to local wildlife. With that being said, there are those that believe the footprints are real, and that the officials didn't want the truth getting out. Regardless, the tracks were quickly forgotten about, and the whole mystery surrounding the Lizard Man eventually died down. Fast forward to 2008 and a couple came forward with an interesting story. They said that while in South Carolina their car was damaged by an unknown creature. They went on to say that scales and scratches could be seen around the car, and they couldn't think of anything that could have done this. Another couple who were driving in the area of South Carolina had this to say about their encounter. While driving close to Scape or Swamp, we encountered what we thought was the Lizard Man. We've gone over this night so many times and it's the only thing we think it could be. As my husband and I were passing through the area, something caught his eye in the mirror. He said it looked as though someone was trying to wave him down. Because we weren't travelling fast, we decided to reverse back and see if the person needed help. We quickly got back to the point where my husband saw the person and tried to look for them. I told my husband I would get out the car and walk around to see if I could see anyone. However, he told me to stay in the car. Looking back, this was a good idea as it was getting dark and we couldn't see much. We must have waited for several minutes, and because we couldn't find anyone, we decided to go on our way. However, just as we were about to set off, we heard a scraping sound on the back of the car. My husband put his head outside the window and immediately swore. As I looked back, I caught a glimpse of what appeared to be a 7-foot slender looking creature. I didn't get a look at its face, but I noticed this thing had a long tail and a green and yellowish coloured body. This all happened within 10 seconds as my husband quickly floored it from the scene. Ever since then, we've been convinced that what we saw was the Lizard Man of Scape or Swamp. What's interesting though is some skeptics have suggested the Lizard Man is something else. A few years back, some people put forward the idea the Lizard Man of Scape or Swamp was in fact a bear. They said this would explain the majority of the encounters and sightings of the creature. Black bears can be found around South Carolina and they grow up to 5 to 7 feet. This is around the height that the alleged Lizard Man of Scape or Swamp is. This would also explain the scratch marks found on people's car. It's been suggested that if you've left food or other items in your car, a bear may be able to sense this and has tried to get into your car. This in turn would leave scratch marks and in some cases blood. There are still some however that believe the Lizard Man of Scape or Swamp is genuine, with some comparing its myth and story to that of the Mothman or Bigfoot. Every couple of years it seems that someone comes forward with an alleged sighting of the creature. Some cryptozoologists believe the creature may actually be an unknown creature that lives in swamps around the world. However, it seems that for people to take this creature serious, we need some solid evidence that it's living around the area of Scape or Swamp. In the last few years, no reports of the Lizard Man have been made, making many people believe that whatever the creature was is now gone. So my question to you guys is, what do you make of these claims? And do you think the Lizard Man of Scape or Swamp is real? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.